to a very special Thursday night TPL, The Parents Lounge. I'm Jamie Kaler. That's Jason Gowin.
Hello.
We have a fantastic, crazy show for you tonight.
Right. It's like fifth grade me. It was like our guest tonight was one of like the first comedy albums I ever heard as a kid. Like his stuff.
Funny you say fifth grade too, because he's already smarter than a fifth grader.
I'm not, but
yeah, I know. None of us are. It's so funny. But we have a very special appearance tonight. A really solid 45-minute interview with Mr. Jeff Foxworthy that we did earlier. Did you know it's been 1 year since we started this little craziness?
I saw that on Facebook. Yeah.
Isn't it funny how Facebook is like, hey, just here's a little reminder for you, by the way. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess a year went by. That's how that worked.
A year ago today, Anson Potsy Weber Williams came on the show.
And he talked. Do you remember when it was so funny? He told some great stories about Happy Days, and he was a super, super nice guy.
Such a nice guy, yeah.
Huge fan. We loved Anson Williams. Super fun guy. But he was selling his side business now is stay awake drops.
Alert drops, yeah.
Alert drops. So not to be confused with like cocaine or uppers or just, crystal meth, nothing like that. They were alert drops that kept you awake when you had to drive home late so you wouldn't fall asleep.
Which for you is like what, 7?
Oh, dude. I would take the alert drops just to get to the early bird special at Red Lobster. Like I take a couple drops at 4:30, and then we get in the car and we go over to Red Lobster. And I honestly don't even get through the dessert. I fall asleep at the table. Then they carry me out and get me home. They have to wheel.
You've just got alert drops on an IV.
We called those whiteies. Cheryl Gibson's here.
Yeah.
Genevieve's here. You guys are, oh my God.
Genevieve's here already, here for the anniversary party.
The regulars are here. We weren't even going to come on and do anything live. We were just going to play. It was like a random Thursday night show because we had such a great guest. Cheryl, that's amazing. Oh my God, hey. So Jeff Foxworthy came in, and Kate Mulligan and Jason and I interviewed Jeff Foxworthy for like an hour about his new special, The Good Old Days, and we just did it yesterday. But he couldn't do it at night. So, and with some of your bigger names, you don't want to go live.
No. I can attest that there have been at least 2 that we have pre-recorded that have been an editing nightmare for me.
Hey, Maureen, how are you?
Maureen is here. Ryan is here.
We should try to get Ryan Curry. Guy's hilarious, but mostly likely book solid, doing cameos as Paul Rubin. Is Ryan Curry? And that's Ryan and Liz. Wait, could Ryan Curry also be the guy who's saying it? Ryan and Liz?
Ryan,
is that you? Are you pitching yourself for the show? Don't subject him to us Midwest realness.
Well, he wasn't ready for this crowd. He just wasn't ready for this crowd.
So crazy.
You throw Cheryl and Genevieve and Jobo at somebody. It's a rough go.
For those of you who are, it's so funny that I love
you too.
So this whole thing came out of a mental health group of guys, basically, that we had kind of going during the pandemic. And we would actually, Brad Williams is a buddy of mine. And it's so funny that you say Brad Williams because he has a kid. And I haven't reached out to him yet because I'm so bad at reaching out to, which Jason, I know so many people who everyone's like, you should have them on. And I go, I would love to. But it's kind of, I always feel really weird reaching out to people going, hey, do you want to be on my show? But invariably, I don't. And then I run into that person and they're like, dude, are you ever going to ask me to be on your show? And I'm like, oh, yeah. That's how typically people end up on the show. I run into them and they go, why aren't I on your show?
I honestly, we've had some of the paranormal TV people go, hey, how you had Schrader and Belanger on? Why not me? And I was like, yeah, Kaler's in charge of all that.
I don't want to be a booking agent. And here's what I will tell everyone too. So I did another podcast, The Dadlands, and then I did Father Time on Earwolf and Howl. And it was an interview show, right? And you've done them too, Jason, right? That's how
this show came about because I was doing my old podcast called Dadpocalypse, and I knew you from Haunted Live, and Dave Schrader, our good buddy, said you should have Jamie Kaler on. You know, he does a dad thing too, and I was like, oh, really? And you came on my show, and we clicked that day, and 3 weeks later, this little bitch started.
I know, and it's been honestly, I mean, every week, even tonight, we were talking because I came in like 2 minutes before the show started, like shaking, and you were like, "You okay?" And I go, "I don't know if I am." I have a question for everyone who's watching. So my daughter, we didn't know it. She has bad vision.
He's been on a few times.
Cheryl, Dave Schrader. Yeah, we're going to have Schrader. Schrader's done it a bunch of times. He's the man. We love Dave Schrader. So my daughter needs glasses. If anyone out in the audience has kids who need glasses, I'd love your comments here, because she won't wear them. And I go, wouldn't you rather see? And she goes, no, I'd rather everything. I go, everything's blurry. She goes, I'd rather things were blurry than have to wear glasses. And I get that, but I'm also, so we've been playing soccer. She's on a soccer team. And she's very good, but she sometimes trips on the ball. And I go, the ball's blurry, right? She goes, yeah, it's a little blurry. And so I made a big stink. And I go, you're wearing your glasses. So tonight, finally, yep, Genevieve gets it, right? Maybe you can help me, because she is 8 years old. And we didn't even know it. All of a sudden, she went for a doctor's appointment, and the doctor's like, I don't know if you know this. Your daughter has bad vision. And we were like, what? And so I talked to her. Turns out she's 20/40. Her eyes are 20/40. They're not good. Right?
Oh, not at all.
20/40 is bad, right?
It's not fantastic. No.
It's not good. And so I talked to her, and I was like, hey, is everything blurry? And she goes, I don't. She doesn't know what the world's supposed to look like.
Oh, and how would I mean?
It's like someone who's deaf. They don't know what sound. So she didn't understand. She just thought that's the way things looked, like blurry. And so all of a sudden I take her to the eye doctor, and she's like, oh my God, everything's, and when she tried to read the things on the wall, she wasn't even close. Even I was like, yeah, that's a K. And she's like, question mark? No, there's no symbols. These are just letters. She was so far off. And so we get her, maybe she needs different frames. Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, I totally agree. We bought her five different frames. She has 5 different frames. Yeah. And I told her, I said, listen, if there's another pair of frames you want, I'll buy you frames. It's not about that. She just won't wear them. And I even had to yell at her, not yell, but I talked to the teacher. Maureen gets it. Yeah, I can understand. Both my husband and I wear glasses, and my almost 2 has a slight stigmatism. So yeah, she has a stigmatism. She's 20/40. I had to talk to her teacher because she was spelling words just off and reading words wrong. And I was like, so the teacher's yelling at her to put glasses on. So finally today, we go to soccer practice with her new team, and I give her the glasses, and she won't put them on.
Won't put them on.
Yelling at her. I go, she wants a play date with her friend this weekend. I said, no, if you don't wear these, no play dates. And she's like, tears are streaming down her face. And finally she puts them on, and they fog up immediately. And I'm that dude at the park yelling at his kid going, you put these on. But I had just watched her trip on the ball 3 times. Like, she's good. And she goes to kick the ball, but she steps on it and falls. And then I was like, here, put your glasses on. She's like, I'm not wearing those. And I said, would you rather step on the ball and trip? And she goes, yeah. And I said, you're embarrassed by wearing glasses, but you're not embarrassed by doing a banana peel fall like Laurel and Hardy in the middle of the soccer field? That doesn't, I wasn't, Cheryl Gibson says, I met my first husband. I wasn't wearing my glasses and waved at some guy. Please wear her glasses. So true. That is so true. I went through that. I was born with a cataract. I didn't know I saw it different. I was born that way. That's how we all are. Right. And so, and here's what's really crazy. There's another little girl on the team who wears glasses, and she plays them. And Cheryl's, my life is so sad. And so my daughter, the other girl who has the glasses on, is literally 10 feet away from my daughter. As I'm screaming at her, basically in front of hundreds of people to put her glasses on. And she goes, no, these glasses look stupid.
Oh, no.
Like, the kid was like, what are you talking about? And so it got ugly. It really got ugly. Tears, screaming. at the field in a public place. And then I drove her home, and we were both dead silent on the way home. And I was shaking because I felt bad that I had pushed it that far.
Right.
But it was like a line in the sand, and I just lost it. Have you ever reached that point where once you draw the line, you can't come back?
No.
But then in the back of my head, I'm like, this is not the right place. This is not the right line. I'm in the middle of a conflict that I can't get out of because I can't show weakness. And so I felt so shitty. She's crying. I'm like, oh my God. And so we got home, and I was like, look, you have got to start wearing your glasses. So she's wearing them right now, although she probably took them off when I walked in this room. But
right. I'm going to be honest. When you came in, and that's time after you've had a little time to cool down, you were tense. I mean, it was tense.
Oh, it reminded me of that day during the pandemic when I beat the shit out of that Restoration Hardware lamp.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Where I was like, I'm not gonna get through today. And I had that like surging energy of like, and I came home, we did her home, I was like, do you have homework? She's like, no. And I said, she goes, I only have to review something for a test for tomorrow. I said, all right, well, let's review that. And then of course, when she pulls that out, she had like 3 pages of homework she hadn't done. And I was like, did you lie to me? She's like, I did. I lied to you.
Well, I mean, at least she came clean.
We had a meltdown about that. And then she just kept saying, she goes, I'm sorry. That's all they ever say, right? I'm sorry. I go, I don't want to hear your fucking sorries. I don't want to hear it. I go, stop being sorry. I don't give a shit because stop doing it. And then she, everything calmed down or something. And then I was talking to Claire, and I said something to Claire, and Hannah mocked me and said what I had said back. I said, like, Claire, you're going to be in bed by 7:30. And then Hannah was like, Claire, you're going to be in bed by 7:30. I was like, you mother, did you just, and she's 8. I mean, it's not like she's 14 and telling me to go to F myself.
No, but
her in the cabinet.
Of your 2 girls, I do feel like Hannah is most like you.
She's exactly, dude. That's honestly the most painful thing ever is that, Ava, how are you, baby? Good to see you. She's honestly, it's like the karma police were like, dude, here you go. Like my father's passed, but I know he's up there. He's like sipping a Schlitz, just laughing his ass off right now going, see, now do you see?
I had a parent-teacher conference today.
How'd that go?
You know how it went. I got to the door, and the woman, his teacher goes, yes, I've been preparing for this one. And I was like, you had to prepare for mine? And so the child apparently knows that he's done wrong. And I guess some girl tried to tattle on him for something he'd done in class, and he tried to silence her in class. And every time she'd try to tell on him, he'd scream, "It was an accident!" And so like the teacher couldn't even hear what the little girl was trying to tell him or tell her, because every time the little girl would try to speak, Jace would interject, "It was an accident!"
Okay, we're making a t-shirt. We're definitely making a t-shirt that says it was an accident. That's happening.
That's happening.
That's one of the greatest lines I've ever heard a child say over and over again.
And so like even when the teacher, I guess, started to question them, Cheryl's right. Where did he learn that? It from me, and the twins were an accident. So I guess even when she started questioning him, he like insisted it was an accident.
We have to do a little you know what you should do? We have to do a photo of him and then just do the silhouette of a little boy with his arms up in the air where he goes, "It was an accident." That's really funny, man.
Oh, Big Rich over on Twitch. Yes, we will. Apparently, we are making
We're making those shirts.
Yeah.
What's funny? I was talking to somebody else today. All these people who are, and I love. By the way, some of you guys are sharing the show on your pages, which we have got to start sending some. We're talking about sending some swag out to anybody else.
I sent out 7 packages of swag today.
I'm gonna get the Parents Lounge whiskey glasses and wine glasses, and we're gonna start just sending them out to people who watch the show, because I mean, I don't know about you guys who are watching, but this has turned into like the greatest mental health thing that's helped me. I mean, even now, like I feel so much better. Like 30 minutes ago, I was like, I don't know if I can get through this thing. I'm gonna punch somebody in the face in about 2 seconds, which I'm feeling a lot.
Well, usually you're here by 20 of, and when you weren't here, I was like, where is Kaler?
Shaking. I was in the other room, like trying to calm down, man. I mean, clenched. Yeah,
it's this all the time.
It's like Charlton Heston at the end of Planet of the Apes. That would have been a better line for him. It was only an accident. The Monkey and Apes took over. Oh my God.
And in a way they have. Also, the Dark Lord. This morning, my wife was watching them, and I took a short nap after the parent teacher conference because I was wounded. It didn't go well, and then I woke up, and the Dark Lord is standing over me in the bed, and he's holding a pillow with a Jack Nicholson The Shining smile, and I was like, holy shit. He was going to take me out. I think he was going to smother me. And I was like, Melissa, why were you not in? Why are you allowing him to do this? And I don't know if they're in cahoots, but not a great day for me.
You know, it's that age, because that's the bit from my first album that happened with Hannah when I swore in front of, do you remember that? I swore in front of Hannah the first time. And I said, I was trying to put her in the car seat and she was planing. And I was like, I had my knee on her and I was trying to bend her into the seat, and she wouldn't bend, and she's screaming, and I'm afraid I'm going to break her in half. I'm like, get in that fucking car seat. I'll fucking kill you, as I'm pushing her into the seat. And then later I told the end of the joke, which is absolutely true. My wife went in to put Hannah to bed, and she comes back in the room. She's like, hey, did you say something weird to Hannah? And I go, no, why? And she goes, well, I would put Hannah to bed. And I said, good night, Hannah. And Hannah went, I'm going to fucking kill daddy. And then I go, yeah, she means that. We're locking the door. That kid. So maybe you need to start locking the Dark Lord into his own space, man.
Well, we do. At night, we have this kennel Harry Potter stairs sort of thing for him. We've had to resort to those measures.
Back up. Like, is there like a kennel thing for like a dog?
It's I mean, we've lined it with mesh and shredded blankets that he shredded himself. So I mean, we provided actual blankets, but it's just shreds now.
Did you electrify? You should probably electrify the fence, because he'll get crafty at some point.
Yeah, when we've now also started like Jurassic Park, we just load a go over top and then we drop it down in to feed him.
Wait, Maureen says, my daughter did that recently one morning, minus the pillow.
Well, she straight up just was ready to kill you.
She just wake up like that. We're like, what are you doing? You think the kids at that age, you think they know, like, you're the only reason the kid has food and shelter. You think they'd wait until they're like 16 to kill you.
Well, they're only trying to kill me. They haven't tried to kill their mother. So like, I don't know. I don't know if she's working with them or not, but I know that she's going to make the Dark Lord the patsy. Like he's definitely gonna be.
She's smart because he's under 18. He can't. He what is he going to do? 6 months in some child probie upstate? He'll be fine, please. And the records are sealed. Do you ever think about that? Like all the stuff you could have done before you were 18.
There was a lot of stuff I did do before I was 18.
Stuff I should have done before I was 18, but then I waited too long. Got in trouble. I forget we have a whole, like, we're kind of just shooting the shit because it's our 1 year anniversary, and it was just fun to hang. And honestly, once I see everybody's names start popping up and all their comments, it makes me laugh so hard. You all make me laugh so hard.
We have fun, like our little crew here. This little Parents Lounge crew is super funny, and that it makes this so much more therapeutic every week.
I know, it's so therapeutic for me. But we have a fantastic show. We have Jeff Foxworthy, and by the way, for those of you out there, he tells a little story where he says a bad word, which I was. That might be, like when there's certain celebrities who don't give autographs,
Right.
And so that one celebrity, if you get that guy's autograph, it's worth a ton of money. We have a clip of Jeff Foxworthy saying a swear word. He's talking about his grandson, or no, he's talking about his daughter specifically. And it's kind of a similar beat to what happened with, we talked about swearing in front of kids, and he tells a fantastic story about it. Sure, we love
Thank
you.
you.
We love it. Has everybody seen Jeff's special? It's on Netflix. It's called The Good Old Days. And it's kind of funny because it's so similar in tone to kind of what we talk about. It's really similar to my last album about like that era.
It is very similar in tone to your stuff.
Well, we come from the same era. He's a little bit older than me, but we're close enough to remember the days before cell phones and before the internet and stuff. But
he was fantastic. Just a really like some of the guests come on and they you can tell that they're here to promote something and go. Jeff legitimately had a conversation with us, and he also did so with Kate Mulligan in the room, which is no small task.
No small task. And for those of you who know Mulligan, I had to tell her not to swear.
And then Foxworthy blew it.
And then Foxworthy blew it because we begged Kate Mulligan, who's our resident swearer mom here, to not swear.
It's the first episode in a long time that I didn't have to bleep out the C word from the editing.
From Mulligan, I know. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, first of all, for all you guys, this is a random show tonight. This is just an off. I kind of like doing the celebrity stuff on Thursdays because I love not having to interview people, and I like our vibe with our regulars that we kind of do. And we're incorporating new regulars, like Gary Anthony Williams, I think, is going to come on. We have a couple of those. Carlos Alazraqui is coming back, and we have a book club coming up and some other stuff.
What do you the guys out there like? Do you like the Tuesday show as like the hang where we just chat, or do you like the Thursday show is where we have guests? How do you guys like it? What do you guys want to see more of?
Let us know. And do that also. I mean, obviously, I can't. We had some huge numbers on Tuesday, and it's because Carlos is the best. I just talked to him today. He's so blindingly funny. I love the regular hang with everybody on Tuesdays and stuff. So, and also, really, the numbers were huge on Tuesday, and we were kind of like shocked. All these people came in. And it was because a bunch of the regulars shared the feed to their profile and brought other parents in. And some of those other parents have also popped in and been like, hey, oh my God, this is because it really is. We're all in the same boat, man. We've all made
we love her.
All made choices in our life, and we're here taking, like, even tonight, I'm like, why? I was driving home going, why did I do this to myself? My friends who don't have kids are like, they joined country clubs. All they do is play golf, and then they do a little stuff and go out to dinner. And I'm like, they go, what are you up to? And I go, oh, I'm picking up kids from school, and then I got soccer practice, and then I got to make them dinner. And then it's like, they're like, oh.
when we were talking to Mike Bunin that day, he's like, well, Mike, what are you and I had horrible days with the kids. And he goes, I'm making Italian for me and my dog. And I'm like, that's your day. You're going to make Italian for your dog.
Sometimes we'll go to play golf, and he'll show up late, and he goes, oh, you wouldn't believe the morning I had. And I go, dude, back up, mother. What do you mean? What kind of morning did you have? Was the take a couple seconds to get the latte from the Starbucks? What happened? Because I tell you how my morning went when I got two kids to school where I had to literally drag them out. They're not wearing the right uniforms. They forgot their lunch. I'm like losing my shit trying to get. Oh, I had to sign a permission slip this morning that she had forgot to bring home. So I had to, for a field trip, I had to go into the school. Then she had to go to her desk, pull the thing out. I had to sign it. I'm like, that's up every day. You're like, what the fuck?
Everybody who is watching this, share this feed. Let get other people to kind of discover the fun that is the Parents Lounge. We've got a lot of fun, cool stuff coming up that we're kind of working on secretly. I
know the first year, honestly, this whole thing was kind of a throwaway. We just kind of did it for shits and giggles, and as you can see, we're not really like the strongest promoters. I'm like the worst at being like, hey, can you follow? Can you subscribe? Can you share? You're like slipping a schlitz was, oh, dude, oh. Oh, thanks, man. He had Schlitz every day, and I didn't think I was going to turn into him. I turned to wine, but he's sipping. He had a Schlitz literally every day. I think of it, but he never missed a day of work. He was that guy. It was back in that era. He worked super hard. He sold cars and ran a car dealership, and then he would come home, and my mom would pop a Schlitz and have it waiting for him on the table. And that was the era back then.
That was his day. Yeah, it's the same every day. Yeah.
Then he'd do a crossword puzzle. He'd read an Alistair MacLean book, Ice Station Zebra or something, or Where Eagles Dare. And he'd smoke cigarettes. He chain smoked, which eventually killed him. But he fought in World War II. And when you were in the Army then, here's what's crazy. When you were in the Army then, when you showed up to basic training, they were like, here's your meal kit and here's your cigarettes. They gave you cigarettes. That's why they were geniuses. That's how everybody got addicted to smoking in World War II, because that was part of your ration package. You got cigarettes.
Oh, okay.
And you're like, well, I guess I should smoke these because I might get shot. And so they'd smoke them. And then when the war was finished, they all had horrible smoking, 2 packs a day habits that they continued through the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Yeah, my father chain smoked his whole life till the end. Lucky Strikes. He'd have a Lucky Strike and a Schlitz. It was such a era of that.
It's like an iconic image of that era, isn't it? That's like the image.
It's like the Marlboro Man, right? It's crazy too, because people, even when I first bartended in the 90s, I don't know if do you remember when the bars stopped smoking? Like, people lost their mind.
Yeah, it wasn't too long. I mean, not like 2006 or 7 here.
Yeah, it was the 90s here. LA might have been one of the first, and people were like so up in arms. But before that, when I bartended, people would smoke. I was like covered. I would get home and just stink of smoke. And I don't smoke cigarettes at all. And I would get like 3 sinus infections a year from people just blowing smoke in my face while they were ordering at the bar. And you try to tell a kid like that, and they're like, wait, what? And you're like, everybody smoked, man. Every bar you went into was like a cloud. It was crazy. And it's just changed so much since then.
Yeah, you couldn't do that now.
I understand why my grandma, you don't find men like that anymore. No, I guess you don't. No, he was a good guy. He raised 6 kids on selling cars. So I tip my cap to him. He worked hard. Although I used to do a joke. I said, my dad used to tell me he worked 80 hours a week, but I found out years later he worked 40 hours a week, and the other 40 he just sat in a car about 3 blocks away from the house, muttering to himself, I want that kid shut up.
Jamie, I'm doing that now. You caught me the other night. I was literally in my driveway in our car, just eating cheeseburgers silently and crying.
Oh my gosh, Maureen, that's so crazy. It was 2008 and they were still smoking, right? And now it's
like 2007 here, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Here it was like, I just remember I would smoke. I was coated in it. Get home, I'd get in the shower and I could feel the smoke just wash off.
Oh, the tar's just washing off you.
Yeah, it was crazy times, man. I think I smoked once or twice in my life when I drunk late at night and I was with a girl who I was hitting on or whatever, and she was smoking, right? And you'd be like, well, I'm going to be tasting this in a few minutes anyway. I might as well enjoy a cigarette. And even then I was like, this is I never understood my father could get up and like light a cigarette in the morning. Like, that was the first thing he did in the morning. He had the Zippo lighter. Like, anytime I hear the click of a Zippo, it brings back
it. Yeah.
The smell of the butane. Yeah.
Back in the day.
And so it's funny because now I think of that in reverse of what my daughter's going to remember. Like, of me, like, what will she remember?
That's interesting. I wonder what it would be for you.
I don't know. I mean, obviously today's probably going to be traumatic. She's going to remember the day her father screamed at her to wear her glasses to play soccer. We were reading last night. I was reading.
It was an accident.
We're making that shirt this week, dude. Last night I was reading with her. She does this AR program, and so she has to read chapter books, right? It was a huge brawl because she wanted to read graphic novels. You don't get any points for that, but the chapter book, she's in 3rd grade, so they have to jump kind of from comic book to chapter book, and she doesn't want to. So I'll read it, we'll alternate chapters or whatever to help her out. And as I was reading, she was laying with her head right here, and her hand was on my chest, and then it went to my arm, and all it did was play with my arm hair. It was like caressing. And do you remember that when you were a kid? You would like, I just remember my dad's hands and my little hand on his or whatever. And you have those weird memories of your dad. And she was just caressing my arm hair and kind of playing with it while I was reading to her.
Yeah,
And
like
then back of my head, I was
bonding thing, yeah.
yeah. It's those little things, those little touches of like, I remember my dad's back of like laying next to him and you know, he had the same. It's funny because I would just remember seeing his back and all the freckles and everything as a kid, and now I see my own back in the mirror, and I'm like, oh my god, I look exactly like my father. Maureen says, I always say, go put that back up. I always say, as long as my daughter is in therapy for not the same things as me, I call it a win. There you go.
That is, I'll take it. Yeah. I had a moment 2 days ago where it was during the day. And Jace was at school, and the twins both climbed up in my lap and both put their heads on my shoulder and just watched TV and snuggled with me. And there is just something about the twin snuggle that really just, as a dad, those are the moments that I will like, I'll never forget that image and like how that felt with those two little dudes.
You know, I think the thing about the twins is symmetry. I think this son, because even when I hold my two daughters or something, I always feel there is something about the two of them. I think
it's like a balance. I agree with that.
Yeah, it was funny. She was laying with me last night, and she had this same energy I had as a little kid, where I was like just shaking. I was like, "Did you have a cup of coffee or something?" Like she was like, it was like 8:30, and she was like, "I can't." She just couldn't sit still, and I was like, "Oh my god, I've seen that before." It's so me. And so she was sitting there, and she was like, petting my head. I was like, what's happening? And she was like, Daddy, that's as I was reading to her. It was kind of cute, but at the same time, you're like, it's so crazy. It's so emotional. We've always said that they're just such extensions of your nervous system,
That is for sure.
Which is kind of why tonight, it just really affected me because I didn't want to, I didn't want to cause this scene, but I'm like, I can't watch you trip on the ball again. I'm losing it. And it's for vanity. And so we did talk a little on the way home, and she goes, I feel self-conscious. I don't like the way I look in glasses. And I said, would you rather trip on the ball? And she was like, I would. And I said, I totally get that. Because I was totally self-conscious as a kid. And, now I dress like a hobo, and I couldn't care less in my white Kirkland t-shirt and my horrible jeans or whatever. I just don't care what anybody thinks, but it took me 50 years to get there. And she feels that self-consciousness, but how do you get your kids to be, I said, the best way to do it is put your glasses on and go score a goal. Yes. So Cheryl Gibson, do kids wear contacts? So she's 8 and she has really thin eyes. And so it's going to be really hard, but we're looking into it. And there's a certain age they can start. It's pretty hard at 8, I think. And honestly, I'd have to like hold her eye open and put them in.
Jobo!
It's so funny because I was kind of waiting to start the Foxworthy before Jobo showed up.
It did feel right that he's here now.
It felt right. So, but yes, Cheryl, I totally agree with that. We're trying to do contacts, but that's going to be a serious process. If you've seen my daughter, she has eyes like me, very thin shaped. And so it's going to be a process to open them up and then jam them.
Yeah.
It's going to be super hard. And honestly, hey, my favorite thing, Cheryl, I saw this too. They had a routine. My dad, it was like surgery when he his Zippo. You know that, Jason, at all? It was like elaborate. It was like he was cleaning a gun. Like he had the Zippo, the butane, a rag, and everything was so meticulous. He would open the Zippo and he'd put it in and then fill it. And then he could do that thing where when you take the Zippo and you snap it open and then fold it. And yeah, there was a whole thing to the Zippo, man. The Zippo is pretty cool. I have one. I never use it for anything.
No, the only thing I really use here now is the barbecue grill lighter. That's about it.
The long one, right?
Yeah, and it mostly gets used to light birthday candles, and that's about it.
Gets used to light, yeah. Unless some of my friends are over in the backyard,
And you have birthday cake?
Yeah, it's his birthday. There's some birthday cakeage going on, I think so. What else should we talk about? So, hey, listen, we're still going to be here. We'd love to see your comments during Foxworthy, and we'll be glad to share them all.
Yes.
But the interview is pre-recorded, so Foxworthy's not going to see your comment and go, "Hey, Cheryl, you might be right." It's not going to be that. But what else should we talk about? It's been a great year, dude. Honestly, I'm so thankful that this happened, and I look forward. It was kind of like a throwaway, like we were just kind of joking. Yes, Jobo, that's exactly what we're talking about. And yes, I'll call you when we have some questions about. 420. Maybe we should do a 420 show. Actually, we're gonna do the 4th. Oh, that's May 4th.
May 4th. We're having a Star Wars
day. My buddy is the Mandalorian, not the face of the Mandalorian. He's physically the Mandalorian for 6 months for the shoot. And then Pedro Pascal comes in and shoots everything with the face off. But my buddy, Brendan Wayne, who's John Wayne's grandson, plays the Mandalorian. So he's going to come for our show on the May the 4th.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Kate Mulligan about creamed in her jeans when you said that.
Yeah. Greg Grunberg, we're recording next week, and he's going to be next Thursday.
Yep. Next Thursday, a week from tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. Greg Grunberg will be here with me, Jamie, and Claire.
We also have a dad's book club, and our first book is going to be The Godfather.
The Godfather, yes.
We're going to do a book club where we choose books that no one's ever going to read, but they've seen the movie so many times. So the first week will probably be Godfather, and then I think the second book will be Jaws.
Books that I'm on board for both.
Yeah, I think I'll have read those books by then. I got
no, Genevieve. Greg Grunberg cannot do live due to his schedule, unfortunately.
He couldn't do live. But you know what? Here's what'll happen with Greg. He'll do a show, and then here's what's happened before. And then people go, oh, let me see if I can make the live work, because the live is really way more fun.
Yep.
But also, you have to kind of fit into the mold. We don't want to do interviews. We don't want to interview people. We would just want to be the parents who hang out and shoot the shit and have everybody chime in. So,
yeah, I like just learning about their lives without like having to interview them. I like them just telling us stories.
I know. And that's actually, I think Foxworthy was a little taken aback because he was doing a whole press junket that day, and he was talking to all these people and doing interviews. And then he came into ours, and all of a sudden he was just part of a conversation, and Mulligan started telling crazy ass stories. And then it was kind of cool because I think you could see he kind of goes, oh, and it was just, you weren't like watching him tell all these rote answers about like, well, when I first started stand up, I did. All of a sudden it turned into just people talking about their kids, and it was pretty great.
There's a bit in the middle, and I keep watch for this, where you see it really click to him what we're doing here, and then he like really delves in, and he gives some fantastic advice that I have thought about since he said it.
Honestly, and I told you I've toured with him. I toured with all the blue collar guys, and then I was supposed to be blue collar comedy, the next generation.
Next generation, yes, I've seen it.
Which is crazy because I don't know. I am blue collar. I'm a blue collar kid from New Hampshire, but they couldn't have been nicer. And Jeff Foxworthy was the king. I mean, he put the whole thing together, and he was the nicest dude to tour with. Just they're class acts, all of them, and it was super fun. And I mean, we're doing shows for like 10, 12,000 people. It was nuts, man. And I was new to comedy, and I was terrified. I was standing in front of 10,000 people telling 20 minutes of jokes. It was mind-blowing. It was crazy. I was like shaking. I walk off stage. Couldn't catch my air. Hey, Josh Chesler. He built my house. Anybody have any contractor questions, please reach out to Josh. He's the king. All right. Hey, I think we should get this thing rolling.
Yes. Are we coming back after, or are we just going to let her end?
I think we're just going to go, we're going to do the opening and then go straight to the Foxworthy interview.
Okay.
Which is great. Thank you guys for all showing up. And this is so random. We don't even do these shows, but we're going to start, I think, doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it'll be super fun. No, Josh Chesler. If you got a comment or two, Josh, you better put them in now while we can still respond to them. Otherwise, you'll just see them over Jeff Foxworthy's face.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much for tuning in this year and, giving this show a chance and being part of, this craziness. Honestly, it is super therapeutic to me. Like there are weeks where I'm having a week, and you guys make all of it worth it. I laugh so much. Like our people here are fantastic.
Honestly, yeah, the comments are so strong. I want to do a show where we bring in all the regulars and we have everybody up and we just kind of do a Phil Donahue and kind of talk to everybody. So if you guys want to do that, maybe we'll start reaching out to people and having a guest of the week.
Thank you, Andy.
Brother. I appreciate it, man. Super cool. Thank you for sharing everything. Thank you.
Yeah, share this bitch out
and liked, and I don't know what else to say. I love it. So we're gonna play the opening theme song, which it's still a temp song, and I keep threatening to record it.
No, don't leave it until Richard Marks or Bowling for Soup record it for us. Just leave it.
No, we got to get Richard Marks to do it. That's right. He was our guest too this year. That was crazy.
In the year that we've done this show, it's Richard Marks's stuff that I have implemented the most of, because he also had 3 boys.
Yeah, and
everything he said to me that resonates and still resonates, and I really appreciated everything I took from him from that.
You know what we should do? We should take all the shows and most of the guests gave us one really good piece of advice, and we should just string them together.
Put them together. I also want to cut. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but almost every guest at some point during an interview takes cheap shots at me. And so I am going to cut together all of the guests' cheap shots at me from start to finish, from Anson Williams right up to
Keckner. No, the best is Keckner. He's like, Gowin.
I'm seeing him here. He's coming here next month, and I'm super pumped because we're going to hang a little.
He's super great, man. Super funny. All right. I don't have anything else to say to you guys. I love you all. Honestly, this has been life-changing. So here's to the next year, and let's keep going. I guess.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen.
That's about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman who's going to be our guest this evening, you may know him from a little thing called the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, about 25 books. You Might Be a Redneck, which is so funny because that's not really who he is. When you see his stand-up, he's really a storyteller, a family storyteller. But that redneck joke always just blows up. It's so great. Although he didn't do one because he was just really just Jeff. He was just Jeff hanging, chatting with us. So it's kind of funny. He just tells stories. So it's a super fun interview. We're going to be here watching along with you. So if you do post comments, we'll be sure to share them and post them up. So please have at it. And I love you guys. All right. You ready? Hit it! We could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Yeah, they could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the parents' lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the parents' lounge is the cure to staying sane. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. We all watched your special, and I loved it, man. We all loved it. Super fun.
Yeah,
I'm honored that you would take the time to watch it. So that's cool.
Kidding. Listen, I've sat with you when I toured with you, and I've watched you many, many times, and it's always great. Here's what I love about the show and your act in particular is that not only is it really funny, but it just made me so reminiscent of my childhood. Like, I mean, the good old days is such the perfect name. And we've been talking about it the whole time about the phone with the long cord and how we all grew up so different than we're raising our own kids.
Well, it was funny because my father-in-law, that's kind of his thing. Everything was better in the good old. And so when COVID hit, as you know, as a comic, when you can't you don't really write when you don't have a stage to go try it out on, because you don't know whether it's good or bad. So I just been rolling that phrase around. Like when somebody says the good old, it's like, what the hell? When was that? It's not marked on the calendar. And so I started thinking about, like, as you get older, everything changes. Technology changes, society changes, morality changes. And you do find yourself living in a world that doesn't make sense. And so it would seem natural that you would hearken back to the time when things made sense. And for most of it, it's back when we were growing up. And so I literally got a big sheet, like a poster board, and I would write education, and on both sides of the board. How did we do it then? How do we do it now? Transportation. But it became a very fun piece of material, because it became, when I got to the point where I could start playing with it and trying it out, it was multi-generational. You'd say one thing and kind of the older people in the audience would laugh. Then you'd throw it back the other way and the younger people would laugh. And so, I just literally kind of was thinking of my childhood as opposed to the way I raised my kids, who now are having kids of their own, so.
Yeah, I was going to say something that has always sort of touched me about your comedy is how, like, when I would do stand up, and I'm sure I'm super famous from doing it. I have a great, beautiful career doing it myself. I'm not sure at all. No, but I always felt like it was hard to reach everybody. Like I couldn't find universality, and I feel like you nail universality. Like,
Yes.
like that is such your special gift, is like exactly what you're describing, is that there's not going to be anybody that watches this special that there's not something for them in it. And it's like a real gift that you could do that.
I mean, that's so kind. Kate, like I was lucky because I remember like those days of first doing amateur nights and clubs and going around thinking, what am I going to talk about? Am I going to talk about maybe that commercial or that billboard or whatever? And I was lucky because I found that thing early on that worked for me. And that was, I trusted, hey, if I think something or my wife says something or my family does something, I'm going to trust other people thinking and saying the same thing. And I just trusted that, even when I would have weird thoughts, I'm like, well, I bet somebody else has thought that, and I'd write it down. And, I'm very lucky that I found that thing that worked for me, because there is no stencil on how to be a comic. No. If you want to be a musician, you go to music school. If you want to be an actor, you want to go to acting school. You learn to be a comic by hanging out with comics. I mean, that's how you do it. And so,
you really learn to be a comic by failing at it. I can tell you that firsthand.
Well, funny, talking about the good old days. My dad, because he would say the good old days, but what's funny is we were talking earlier. My father didn't watch TV when I was a kid, and I didn't understand it because I love TV more than anything. And then when I got older, it dawned on me that he could not pause television or record. So if he wanted to watch a show that was on Thursday night at 8:00. He better be in that chair at 7:59, and those kids better be nowhere. He probably tried watching TV when the kids were young and was like, and like melted down. So it makes me laugh.
There wasn't any saving it. It's if you didn't see it in that half hour, you'd have to wait 6 months because they would rerun like half the season.
Yeah.
Or the VHS, we would put the VHS in to record. We got a lot of, we have like Olympics from 1988 recorded. Sure. I got FloJo winning the gold and then like a Kodak commercial.
Yeah, well, you would have FloJo winning the gold and then like a 4-second clip of your aunt doing something. And then it would be like Thanksgiving. Yeah.
And then like my dad's 40th birthday where everybody showed up carrying a coffin. Like it was just.
And then the holiday Rudolph special.
This is the weirdest Olympics ever.
No, Jason, not the whole Rudolph special, just the last 20 minutes of it. So,
Yep.
Jeff, you're like me. You have 2 daughters, and here's what I also love about we have Mulligan as our resident swearer. She gets a potty mouth sometimes, so we had to tell her you got to be clean. And when
my wife's name,
we're very clean, and I love that. I think you push yourself a little further when you try to do it clean. But as a dad, did you ever swear with the kids around, or do you not swear at all?
I mean, it's very fun. I come from a world-class swearer. My dad, who left, he and my mom divorced when I was like 7 or 8, but my dad put combinations of cuss words together that truckers had not thought of. I mean, it was, and my mother, my mother would say, your room looks like 8 Pakiyaki. She wouldn't say anything dirty. So I tried not to. Can you swear on your podcast, or you don't?
We can, yes.
We can, yeah.
So I will tell you this. So my oldest daughter, Jordan, we were living in LA and we came home to Atlanta for Christmas. And we had gone to Christmas Day brunch at the Ritz-Carlton. And so when we come out, I'm putting Jordan in the car seat in the back of the car, and I'm talking to my wife. And I said, I hate rich people, because we had just come out of I said, rich people walk around with a look on their face like, who's shit? And so my daughter, who is like 14 months old at that point, goes, who's shit? Who's shit? And for the rest of Christmas Day, that's the only thing she would say. So we go to visit my mother, and my mother's like, come here, darling. Who's shit? Who's shit? And so I learned at a very early age, you got to watch it because it will come back. I mean, I said it one time and she became a parrot with it. So
maybe that's my gift, is because I swear so much, my kids don't even register it.
They don't even think it's a swear word, right?
They don't even know it's anything. They don't know there's anything wrong with that word. They just go, oh, Dad's talking again.
It's funny. I swear in the real world, but I don't around my kids. My kid told me the other day, he's like, I'm going to say a swear word, Mama. And I was like, okay, go ahead. That was really stupid. And I was like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
All right, try not to say that swear word again.
Yeah.
By the way,
I had
Jeff, my husband,
my 6-year-old.
Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
Oh no, my 6-year-old called his twin brothers both a-holes. He came in, he's like, "What are you two a-holes up to?" And I was like, "That's fair."
Like,
there we go.
I just love the whole era of the special because it reminded me of my childhood, because I grew up in rural New Hampshire and we used to hang at the drive-in. The drive-in movie theater was where we all went. I don't think the kids nowadays have that, because I see them sitting next to each other and they're just texting each other. They don't even talk, let alone go hang out in the woods with a keg,
No, yeah, that was, it was all outdoors for us, whether it was the drive-in, that was the big makeout spot, was the drive-in. And you could get your friends in free if they were willing to get into the trunk of the car.
Right. That's right.
You would pay for 2, but you'd have 3 in the trunk, and then you drive in.
That's so true. I would never get in the trunk because I had claustrophobia. I was like, I'm not getting in the trunk, and also I didn't trust my friends to let me out.
Yeah,
but it was a huge makeout. I mean, like serious makeout place. I did some things at the drive-in I wouldn't be wanting to tell my preacher about right now.
We still have them here. We actually, they're ours locally opens this weekend. So maybe I'll put my wife in the trunk and we'll go.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking.
So I know, Jeff, also you have a grandchild now, grandson Ronan.
Yes. I, honest to God, did not know I had this much untapped love inside of me.
Oh.
I thought because I was intentional. I was trying to give all my love away. And then when he was born, I didn't ever think I would love anything as much as my kids.
Yeah.
And I do. I mean, I look at my kids now and I go, I love y'all. I don't love y'all as much as I love him. I mean, I love you a lot, just not this much. So my wife and I had a pretty serious talk the other night, and we have decided we're not having any more kids. We're only having grandkids at this point.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Valid choice.
Wow, that was well. You know what? Good for you guys for making that decision. It's important
And
to
we're
communicate.
standing firm by it. No more kids. We're
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, you can always change your mind.
Yeah.
Is it also that it's a boy because you have 2 daughters, right? And it's a boy. Did you ever
actually,
really
Jamie,
want a boy?
so for the last 20 something years, up until last year, I lived next door to my brother. He had all girls. I had all girls. My side of the family, we had 13 girls and no boys. So my grandson is the first boy in 58 years in my family.
Oh, wow.
He
Yeah.
will
Wow.
be king. So he'll be the king then.
He is king. Yeah. And I tell him, you're king. You come to my house where the answer is always yes. I mean, that's
Oh, that's so sweet. What is it? I was thinking about this. You know, I have friends of people in the industry, of people that are well known, famous in the industry as you are. And what's that like to date or marry your daughter? What is that? I mean, that's got to be a little intimidating.
Yeah, you know, Kay, I never think of myself as faint. Like, I don't think about it. Do you know what I mean? So when I'm met like
I
guys,
also don't think of myself as famous, so I know exactly what you mean.
but like when somebody comes in to meet me, I don't think, oh, they're thinking. I mean, I'm just Jules's dad or Jordan's
Yeah.
dad. You know.
But the kid thinks it when that 16-year-old boy comes into your house and he's eating your daughter.
Yeah.
And you go, hey, maybe we should go hunting this weekend. He's like, wait, what's happening here?
You know, the weird thing is, like, so my youngest daughter's the one that's married, and she married a kid that she's been to school with since the first grade. So I knew her husband in the first grade. On the 7th grade school trip to Washington, he was the one that was making out on the bus and, you know, slapping the little girl's butts, and I'm like having to pull him aside going, look, dude, I was you 25 years ago. Yeah. And so I'm like, never in my wildest dreams did I think this guy is going to end up being my son-in-law.
That's really funny.
I've known him, since but I love him to death.
Was your speech at their wedding, first of all, a Netflix special? Was it ridiculous, hilarious? Did you destroy the kid in jokes, or were you kind of soft?
No, I was kind of soft with him. I love him because his buddies were beating him up a lot. So I was soft with him. I always want to be a safe place for my kids. And since you guys do a parent show, if I could think of one piece of advice, that would be it, is be a safe place. Not meaning that you don't discipline, because the only kids that never get disciplined, trust me, your parents don't give a crap about you if you don't get disciplined. You get disciplined because people love you and they want what's best.
So Kate Mulligan knows a story about.
Well, I don't know the story. My husband is friends with a gentleman by the name of Robert Peacock.
One of my dearest friends.
That's exactly, that he claims the same about you. So I'm glad to know you've heard of him.
So how does your husband know him?
Well, they work together on a show. My husband's a writer. So he said that Robert, the story he tells about Robert is he's just genuinely one of the nicest guys on the planet. When I was on the show, he said, I told him my parents were coming in to visit, and he said, oh, what are your parents' names? And he said, Bill and Denise. And then later when he introduced Robert to them, Robert said, Bill, Denise, nice to meet you. And Dickie was like, this is unbelievable. But Robert, so Dickie called him, my husband Dickie called him, and he said, oh, I know you're good friends with Jeff. My wife's going to be doing a show with him tomorrow. It's a parenting show. And he's like, ask him to tell the story of what my son Sam did in front of his daughters. Is that a story you can tell?
Yeah, I think I can tell it. So, because it still resonates in my family to this day. So, our girls, we have a farm, and so the Peacocks came to visit. We have all girls; they had all boys. And like I said, my brother lived next door, and they had all girls. So we're down at the farm, and we've got kind of a lodge made out of an old barn. So the kids were upstairs watching something on TV, and the parents were downstairs. And there's like a big spiral staircase that goes from the bottom of the barn up to the top. And that's how you get up there. And the parents are talking. And then all of a sudden, I hear like 5 little girls scream, like scream. And I yelled upstairs. I said, "Is everybody okay?" And my oldest daughter, Jordan, who was probably about 7 at the time, she said, "Yes." She said, "Sam just stood up and pulled his pants all the way down and said, 'It's weenie time.'" And none of, we had all girls, none of them had ever seen one before. So this was a gigantic moment. And I told Robert, I said, "I just want to sell T-shirts with a hand holding a hot dog going, 'It's weenie time.'"
It's weenie time.
And so Robert called him downstairs. He said, "Sam," he said, "what are you doing?" He said, "These are little girls. You can't be doing this in front of girls." And Sam was like dead serious. He's like 4. He goes, "But Dad, it was weenie time."
Have you never told that on stage? That's such a good
No.
Oh my God. Wait,
Well,
so
that's a new
But
shit
still
for
to
us.
this
We're gonna
day,
make a
so
new
with
thing.
my grandson the other night, he's out of the tub and my girls are like parading him through the house. "It's weenie time. It's weenie time."
That's so gold. That is so funny.
the story only works because Sam was younger than them.
What's
Oh,
funny-
yeah, right. If Sam was older, Sam would be in jail right
I
now.
was gonna
Yeah,
say,
he would be canceled now. Yeah.
you're 32 years old. It got really weird then.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? You talk about that because what I really loved in your special too was about, like, when I was a kid, smut porn was an old Playboy you found in the woods or something, and it was kind of beautiful. Nowadays, my next door neighbor, he told me that his 11-year-old daughter, some boy on the bus, had a phone and showed the 11-year-old girl like hardcore, and I'm like, oh, maybe technology isn't great.
I think that's a real struggle for parents now. Is they've just we didn't have access to that.
I didn't have any access. When
I
I was a kid,
no access to it.
I had to turn the dial to the 3 channels. That's how I started,
Yes, exactly. And
Scrambled. Yeah.
Any boy that knew what that was on the TV was not a good boy,
Yeah.
You would watch Cinemax and go like, I think that's a boob. I think that's a boob.
So what is the answer to that? Because it is available everywhere. I mean, I think I did a joke in the special. You don't even have to be looking for it because it's looking for you.
When you said delicious Italian
near me, and Mamma Mia, that's a spicy meatball.
Well, I don't know when's the last. Every now and then, someone will go like, "Hey, I sent you an email," and I go, "I didn't get it." And they go, "Look in your junk." And you never look in junk, but that one time you look in junk, you're like, "Oh my God, man, what's in my junk?" My junk.
So how do you deal with that as a parent now? Do you have to have more honest conversation? Because nobody ever talked to me about sex, but I don't know how you can be a parent of young children now and not have this conversation, because that they're going to be watching this stuff and try to explain the difference between what is this like between people that love each other and are in relationship as opposed to what they're watching, like you said, on the bus.
It's damaging. I can tell you though, if I was like 15 years old and I was trying to do homework and I was 2 clicks away from, I'd be illiterate. I wouldn't even know how to read right now. I wouldn't know how to do anything except find porn on a computer when I was 15.
I have trouble with it now.
Tell them what you got. You got some email that said,
"Oh yeah, I got an email from Samantha something Institute for Purity, and apparently, however they found me, apparently I was looking at some risque material too much, and they wanted to counsel me about it, and they had like a whole."
She teaches a seminar. She coaches. She's a coach, and she can help wean you off of not being the master of your domain, I would say.
Jason, what in the world have you been watching?
Yeah, I don't.
Not me, Jeff. It's my
wife.
wife, and it's not my fault. It's my wife. It's just who she is. Oh, here.
Jason has 3 boys. He has twins who are 2 years old.
3. Yeah, they're 3 now.
And a
6-year-old. Here's the ad, actually.
Sarah Brewer coaching.
Now, Jason, you think this is a story to tell to the extent that you have the flyer ready with your face on it? You're proud of this story, Jason?
Well, I tried to make it into a joke, and I felt like at the time it landed. I may be wrong.
I also think Sarah Brewer's way too good looking to be teaching guys not to use.
And I think it's a bait and switch. I think when you get in there, it's something else.
I don't know. There was just an innocence, I feel like, that's kind of being lost. You know, I equate it to the menu at the Cheesecake Factory. Like, sometimes you're not supposed to have this many choices in life. Like, I just want 3 or 4 choices and I'll pick one. I don't need 700 different meals to look at. And I feel like nowadays that's what the world is. There's just so much white noise coming through that we're not capable of focusing anymore.
I agree with you. I think, and especially after like being intimate with this material and like really contemplating it and thinking over it, I think we have too much information now. I know because like a friend of mine is a psychologist, and he said, you do know there's more people that suffer from anxiety now than any time in human history. And he thinks it's because we have too much information. He goes, some things are just better, you know, like I talked about on there with Googling, you know, the side effects of something, or Googling every ache and pain we have. We've made ourselves just so totally paranoid because everything you want to know is right there at your. I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing, because we no longer think. We no longer think critically, and by that I don't mean with like a critical attitude. I mean thinking things second and third and fourth layer deep, real critical thinking on subject, because it's all right there for us to skim. And so we never do deep dives on anything. We've got all this stuff that's such a waste of time that you sit there and play these games or watch these things and accomplish nothing. And I'm as susceptible to it as anything. And then one day I'm like, you know, when people get to the end of their lives, I don't think they're going to say, you know, the best day that I ever had, it never is going to include a computer in there.
Yeah.
It's or a phone.
No one's going to
say the best
say
days of your life are not going to include those things. It was like, yeah, remember when we went to this place or made this memory or did this thing. And so at some point as a civilization, I think we're going to have to shake the shackles of this thing off and go, this isn't good to be this enmeshed in something. You know, because we just look at that phone all day long and go, entertain me, feed me, entertain me.
Well, you never get a break from it now either. Like it's constant from the time you get up to the time you go to sleep. It's constant information being bombarded to you. Like you used to get a break, and you just don't anymore.
And it's somebody's job, Jason, to make sure that you don't put it down. They know how to hit those buttons to release endorphins to make you feel better, and you become so totally addicted to this thing. And that's somebody's job to make sure that you do.
I do a joke that I grew up without a cell phone. I have to teach my kids that I grew up without a cell phone. Like when I was a kid, if you went to a concert and you lost your friends, you made new friends. That's how that show went. Yeah. And so many people love that joke. And I think it's because you forget, like people, I have a friend in Sweden. And you're like, well, do you even know who lives next door to you? No, I don't know anyone in my own neighborhood, but I got a friend in Nigeria, and he and I are talking all the time. It's like there's no community anymore. Like you can see it on the community news, and there's no sense of a neighborhood much anymore. Everyone's like, I'm like, we have Oculuses. I went on an Oculus, and I actually got super nauseous. I almost threw up in the virtual world. I was like, what's happening? And so I just miss that sense of community. I think we had it more as a kid.
I would say also about the phones and the cell phones. For me, in the good old days, people couldn't reach me at every moment of every day.
Yeah,
and that is actually something that like I really don't want my kids seeing me on the phone. And people in my life have gotten very frustrated with my inability to text back or to call back. But it's because I actually don't want my phone when my kids are home with me. I am trying not to be doing this because but people can reach me at every moment of every day. If you wanted to call me, I had to be home and my mom had to not be on the phone. Those were the two things that needed to be in place.
Yeah, we used to have busy signals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I think there's such whether you're a person of faith or not, but you know, the old be still and know I'm God. We don't have a be still moment in our lives anymore. It's like every moment is filled up. And I don't even think that's good for our kids. It's like, I think positive things happen when you have those quiet times and reflect, but we don't have very much of that. It's like this little thing just wants your attention all the time. And I know as a writer, it's not good.
No.
You know, I mean, as a writer, I've got to get away from all that stuff.
Yeah.
And just, you know, writing's never fun and you've got the blank page, but sometimes I'm like, I need this stuff out of my life a little
Jeff, I have a question for you. Because obviously growing up with your two daughters, you were on the road a lot. When you came home, were you just like, yes, girls, whatever you want? Was your wife the disciplinarian? Or when you came home, did you drop the hammer? Or how, I mean, you lived the life on the road a lot with the kids at home.
You know, I did. And it was very funny because my dad left early in my life. My dad left when I was like 8 or 9. And so it was always important to me to be a great dad. That was probably my number one priority in life. And then I end up with a job that's taking me city to city every night. And I was very lucky, Jamie, in that at that point in my career, I was doing theaters and things. So I would rent a plane and say Friday night, I had a show in St. Louis. I'd leave Atlanta at 4 or 5 o'clock, fly to St. Louis, do the show, and I'd get back on the plane and I'd fly back to Atlanta. And I may not get back there till 2 or 3 in the morning, but I was there the next morning to go to their softball game or their basketball game, or in a lot of cases, take them to school. You know, I'd get up at 6 and I'm going, all right, I'm driving you to school. But what it did was it gave me 100 more days a year with my kids. And I said, my wife not long ago, I said, man, I don't think I slept very much for about 15 years. But now my kids are grown. My kids are 28 and 30. We were living out where we used to live. And they said, Mom and Dad, y'all need to move down here and live near us, because they just enjoy it. They come like over like every day or every other day. And we just have, so I look back and I go, all that time and effort that I put into them. And so there's something about driving your kids to school. You talk a lot. I mean, about a lot of stuff. That was
every day. I drive every day.
Yeah.
Good, rich time. But I look back at it and I go, man, I was making an investment in them by coming home, but it's paid off. I mean, you do reap what you sow, because now they're grown and they're our friends. I mean, you know, you kind of grow out of having to, you're always the parent, but you grow much. And I just look at them and go, man, I love these human beings. They're nice people. They're good quality people. And they're my kids. So
do you remember ever like blowing up and losing your cool? Because I still like, my kids drive me crazy. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I love them and it's great. And I take them to school, but even this morning trying to get them out the door, will you get ready? We're killing me. They're just sitting there. I mean,
I used to hate bedtime. Bedtime.
I'm not tired, Dad. Yeah, I don't care.
It would just go on and on and on. Oh, and then I look at my daughter who's got her little baby that sleeps 7 to 7, you know, like, and I'm like, how in the world did you do that? But I'm not talking about babies. I'm talking about like when they were 10, 11, 12. I'm like, go to bed. You know, I don't want to start a conversation at 11 o'clock at night. Go to bed. Yeah, I mean, I'm human. There would be a lot of times I would lose it, but
okay, all right, because you always seem so.
But here was the thing. Here was when I'd really lose it. Is I would tolerate a lot of stuff, and they were kind of daddy's girls. But if they talk back to their mother or smarted off at their mother, I was out of the chair. I was like, that's my girlfriend, and you do not talk to my girlfriend that way. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
There it is.
There it is.
I
would not let them do that to their mom. I wouldn't appreciate them, you know.
Speaking of your girlfriend, your wife, your life partner, you do the funniest bit at the beginning of your set, and it went on. I was like, in my head, I was like, how's he going to get out of this? And then I won't reveal how you get out of it, but it's perfect. This is just me being like, how'd you memorize all of that? Or are you just legitimately, did you actually, or are you legitimately coming, are you just ad-libbing? Because you went on for like, it was like, it's that.
What's the bit? Is the bit about packing, the packing bit?
No,
about talking to her in the pandemic.
Waking up during
during the pandemic. Oh my gosh. Oh yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It was the most relatable. Because sometimes I'll be like, I'm not going to laugh at a wife joke. I was laughing at that.
Too, dude. I kept waiting for it to end, and I was like, well, that's the out. Oh, I guess. Okay.
I'm like, how is he going to get out of this? And
it was gold.
It was gold.
Such a gold bit. Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite part is at the end of it, my wife looks at me and goes, do I do that? And I was like,
yes.
I don't know.
And specifically, some of the lines were verbatim. Yeah.
You know, Kate, I don't know why I can do this. I have this weird thing. But I read long ago that if you write something long-handed, there's something about the act of your brain telling your hand to do it that you have like an 80% better chance of memorizing it.
Yeah.
And so I had that thing on note cards, and I would just write it like every day. I would just write it again. So when I go to do it on stage, I'm not remembering it. I'm reading those cards. I can see those cards in my mind's eye, and I'm just reading the card, just one, and I know which one comes after the next, you know, and I'm literally just reading.
It was so seamless. And I was like, oh, wow, it's still going. Oh, how is he going to get out? Oh, my God. And when you come to the out, it's really.
So, Jeff, I have a question about that because it was during the pandemic. I put out an album in September, and I had to memorize it kind of on my own because I didn't really do that many road gigs.
Yeah.
It's like this, for this special, you weren't on the road a ton. Maybe a couple of warm-up gigs. Did you just kind of memorize it like a one-man show that you kind of did on your own? It was crazy.
A little bit. Yeah. You know, I mean, because you know what it's like. You're trying to put a new hour and 15 or 20 in your brain. Well, when you're on the road all the time, it kind of just comes naturally. So it was little things like that, like my wife's conversation. And I had parts of it that I was still kind of struggling with right before I was filming it. And so I told them, I said, the month before I filmed this, I just want as many gigs as I can get anywhere. And so then I'm working like 5 nights in a row, and I'm like, hell, this was easy when I was 35. This is killing me now. But, you know, as comics, that's how you come up with stuff is you just that repetition and that doing it.
Well, also now something I'm sure we need to address is you've got a clothing line coming out. So exciting. A pizza box clothing line. Where can they find
you're going to be able to find those in Domino's. I think Papa John's is going to carry it.
Okay.
And Pizza Hut is already Pizza Hut is doing a signature line.
We don't want to wreck the last story of the special, but it's about you and Larry on the road. And obviously, you know what I loved about that whole story is, and it's a big reason I don't love the road, because typically you're alone. You pass guys in the airport, and you're like, hey, what's happening? But all of a sudden, you got this magic moment where you got to kind of tour with your friends and do this. I mean, I just would love when you guys would all get up at the end and tell stories and stuff. And so it was great that you close your special with a story about you and Larry on the road. I mean, you must have, by the way, that story is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. You know, there was so many of them because we were out together for years.
Yeah.
But like I said that night, I didn't want to tell one on the other guys. Not that I wouldn't do it, but I want them there to tell their side of it. So when I was thinking about what, I'm like, all right, let me just tell one of the dumbass things I've done through the years. So
well, you couldn't possibly have any crazy stories about Ron. There's no way that Ron
no,
any crazy
no,
stories. I don't believe.
no. What could possibly go wrong with Mister for 3 years getting off the plane going, has anybody seen my jacket? Did anybody see my suitcase? You know, there's Ron White stuff scattered all over the country out there.
Can I ask, being friends with Larry, does that mean that your daughters grew up with free Mater impressions if they wanted them?
Yeah, you know what? He's so sweet with that. Like, if we'll do meet and greets and things, and somebody comes up and goes, Larry, my son is like the biggest Mater fan. He's like, call him. What's their name? Call him. You know, Chad, and then he'll, hey Chad, this is Mater, you know, and he'll talk to him on the phone, and which I think is really, really sweet and cool because he knows how much it means to him, you know.
Oh, I'm telling you, I've got 2 boys, and Mater. We had all of the Mater things for a while here. They're now a little older into, you know, now they've got like all the Darth Vader stuff you can own. But.
So does it take? See, because I just always thought I would have boys, and then I had all girls. And then, like, through the years, I thought, you know what? It takes a special dad to be a girl's dad.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to learn a whole new skill set. You can't just do the wrestling and it's a whole, and so I took pride in being a good girl's dad because I had to learn to listen and to be, is it, so for you, is it weird being just a boy's mom?
It's funny. I think it serves my egomania well because I really enjoy being the woman that they love.
Yeah, you're the queen.
They're the boyfriends that they can't leave you, Kate. That's the real thing, right?
I mean, but I will say I grew up with just a sister, so I only knew girls, but I nannied and I babysat basically from the time, this is wild to talk about the good old days. I started babysitting at 10. Well, is there a 10-year-old
people that trusted you to watch their house and their kids at 10 years old?
At 10. I would walk up. It was always in the neighborhood, but I'd walk to the house and I'd babysit. And I always had a special connection with the little boys because I think I've got a little bit of a masculine energy about me anyway.
Just a scooch.
Yeah, just a scooch. I got a filth mouth and a.
The best thing about having 2 little girls is that when we're at a restaurant and the girls have to go to the bathroom, I always go, Kate, I don't want to take them in the men's room. It's too disgusting in there. So you should probably do this. And she's the greatest gift of having girls that I don't have to take them to the restroom as much.
Yeah. And it's like with little boys, like the mom taking what age does that stop?
I'll tell you, it's already sort of stopped. My son, Neil, who is 6, he'll turn 7 shortly. He really gets horrified if I make him come into the bathroom with me. And so then I will wait outside. So now if he wants to go to the bathroom by himself, I wait outside the men's and I'm like, I hope nothing happens in there that I can't, you know, and he'll usually be in and out and I'll be like, go back in because I know you didn't wash your hands, and he'll go back in. But yeah, it's already started.
When Hannah was 2, I was at a mall with her and I had to go to the bathroom so badly. So I put her on my shoulders and I went into the bathroom and used the urinal while she was on my shoulders. And she kept trying to lean over to look down. And so I had to kind of torque my body back and hold her back while I peed in the urinal. She's
like, Dad, isn't it weenie time?
Yes, come on, Jamie. Sometimes it's just weenie time.
We have 3 boys here. It's weenie time all day, every day.
I love
my wife until those boys are out of this house will never know the luxury of a clean toilet seat. It's not going to happen here.
Yeah, don't even bother blaming it.
I'm never. I had kids really late. Like I was 50 when I had kids, and I don't want to have to fight a 16-year-old boy when I'm 66. Like, I don't want to have that fist fight with him. So, you know, I'll deal with the girls in their teen years. What was it like when they started to get, in their teen years and they were like, Dad, like swearing at you and stuff, or did they, you get off the hook on that?
I got off the hook on most of it. Like I do remember like, and it's Jules's husband now, but that they like broke up one summer, and then he came like sniffing back around at 14, and I told Jules, I said, I'm not saying you can't go out with him anymore, but you can't go out with him until he and I go for a walk. And she was like,
I started sweating.
I said, he's going for a walk. And I'm like walking him down the street going, all right, look, she is like the most precious thing in the world to me. And I will do anything in the world to help anybody that tries to build her up and protect her. But the minute that you do something to take advantage or whatever, you're going to have a huge problem with me. And I would like give them that conversation going down the street. You're going to treat her with respect. And and my wife said, Jules would be in the house like, oh, Dad's embarrassing me to death. But my son-in-law to this day goes, trust me, that speech stuck. I remember that speech, and it stuck with me that I was going to treat her with respect and be nice. And it's things like, I've been married 37 years. I still open my wife's car door, even if we're in our own garage going out. And so, but like, I noticed him doing that for my daughter, and he's like, well, hell, you do it. So I, you kind of made it where I have to do it, because this is all your girls have ever seen. Yeah. Because I used to tell my girls, I want to make whoever dates you have to work. It's, yes. I want you to have a bar how you expect a man to treat you.
Has he ever tried to talk you down? Has he ever tried to be like, listen, could you just stop with the car door? Because it'd make my life a lot easier if I could stop.
You set the bar a little high, Jeff. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. He started that. I had a friend of mine that I was saying, I'm talking about taking my kids to school every day. And he came to me, because don't tell that story around my wife anymore, because I really need to get to the office. And anytime I balk about taking the kids to school, my wife goes, well, Jeff Foxworthy had time to take his kids to school.
Hey, Jeff, we got to let you go in a minute here. Really quick, you got cut off earlier. You had some great advice for parents that I think we should use as our closing little bit. You were telling us that you had some advice that you wanted to share with parents.
It was about be still, right?
It was be still and be safe. That's, and to be safe doesn't mean that you condone everything that they do, but it means, because I think somebody told me one time, for a kid growing up, they take all the little building blocks that you have given them their whole life. This is how to behave. This is what to do. And then when they get to that college age, they knock it all down and they pick them up one at a time and they examine them and go, you know what? I'm going to keep that one for my house. That's a good one.
Oh, I love that.
But you have to be a safe place, especially like we're talking about in this world where 10-year-olds can look at porn, where they can come to you and they can say, Dad, I saw something today and I don't know what it was, or it made me feel really weird, or Mom, what do I do about this? Where you have these discussions, because for people that just start yelling their kid, why were you watching that? Hanging around with Bob anymore? Now you've killed a conversation. You're not safe. But if you could go, all right, well, let's talk about that, and looking back, and it's hard, Jamie, when you got all girls, because it's a different skill set. But I would say that would be the advice. Be safe. Be a place that they can come bring stuff, things they're not sure about, things they're not even proud of. I would say, hey, if one of your friends is doing something and it worries you, because they don't have things figured out. They need a sounding board on this stuff. Just like as adults, we don't have things figured out, but they need a place to bring it. And if they're not bringing it to you, then they're bringing it to other friends. They got to take it somewhere. And so be that place to say, bring it here. We'll talk about it. And then you can decide what to do with it, whether you're going to reject it or keep it or whatever. But yeah, be a safe place for them.
I'm starting to go in reverse, where I'm going to my kids and I'm like, hey, I saw this online and this is making me feel
I'm really unsure. I messed up about this. So yeah,
really uncomfortable. What am I looking at? And then my 7-year-old, she goes into settings and she fixes my iPad for me.
Jamie, all we had was that illustration in the biology book of the woman parts. And to this day, I could never figure that out. I'm like, what is that doing in there? I could never figure out the drawing in the biology book.
I still don't understand where, like, what direction the uterus is facing. What?
No,
it's on an angle. What is it?
That drawing looked like the map to King Tut's tomb or something. You're like, what is this?
Why is our junk on the outside? You'd think you'd put it on the inside to protect it. It's in the whole.
Yes, exactly.
Like a vulnerable spot.
All right. On that note. Jeff Foxworthy, thank you so much for everybody out there. His new specials on Netflix. It's called The Good Old Days. It's
super funny,
hilarious, and it'll take you back to the good old days. Jeff, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure, friend. Enjoy those girls. Kate, enjoy those boys.
You guys, it's weenie time!
Weenie time. There we go.
All right, Jeff, love you, brother. See you soon.
See you.